So what's the very core of your theology? What's creation spirituality all about?
The core of creation spirituality is to move beyond the naming of the spiritual journey as purgation, illumination, and union, which is a classical naming that we've had for centuries, but that is not biblical, it's not Jewish, and it leaves out justice, it leaves out beauty and wonder, it leaves out creativity, and so it doesn't work. So the four paths of creation spirituality are the core. They are the backbone, the structure of creation spirituality. The via positiva is the path of awe and wonder and joy and beauty. As Rabbi Heschel says, awe is the beginning of wisdom. And the second path is the via negativa. The via negativa really has two directions to it. One is silence. Letting go of all images, letting go of all input. It's very Buddhist, really. It's emptying the mind. So it's what we do in meditation. But the second direction of via negativa is suffering and grief, the broken heart. And that, of course, is another path to the divine. So I say there are three highways to the heart. There is awe, there is silence, and there is grief. Any one of those takes you to the depths and takes you to an encounter with the divine. The second path, silence and darkness, is also the apophatic divinity. The divinity, as Meister Eckhart says, God has no name, is nameless, and will never be given a name. That's the apophatic divinity. Then the third path is the via creativa, it's creativity. And creativity is born from the first two paths. In other words, it's born from the opening up and the excitement of awe and wonder and being in love, but also of the letting go and the emptying of the via negativa. Those together, it's like electricity, the positive and the negative, they give you a charge, and that charge is creativity. Then the fourth path is the via transformativa, the path of justice and compassion, because creativity in itself needs direction. After all, it's creative to tear down a rainforest in a day that has taken God and nature 10,000 years to create. And we do that today. We can do that with our bulldozers and everything else. So we need, creativity needs a critique, and that critique is justice and compassion. Now, when you back up and look at these four paths, you see there's specialization in the via positiva and the via creativa, because our creativity, human creativity, technology, art, music, all of it, increases the amount of awe in the universe. And for example, regarding science, of course, with Hubble telescope and so forth, we learn more and more of the wonders of the universe and the size of the universe, and all of it is awesome, and the beauty of the universe. And but there's also specialization between the via negativa and the via transformativa, because paying attention to suffering, getting over denial, and paying attention to suffering, of course, leads you to compassion, because compassion is not about pity, it is about interdependence. And when you go deeply into your awareness of the suffering of others, including, for example, the suffering of Mother Earth today, and her forests and her oceans and the rest, that moves you to action. And the via transformativa is about action. It's about healing and bringing justice where there is brokenness and injustice, bringing sustainability where there is unsustainability.
Where did you get the inspiration of these four via and the name? Why via? What does it come from, la via?
The first time I ever wrote about the four paths was an article I wrote on Meister Eckhart. So Meister Eckhart, the great late 13th, early 14th century Dominican mystic and preacher, who was condemned the week after he died by Pope John XXII. I saw these in his work. Traditionally, you hear the term via positiva and via negativa, but I'd never seen a theologian put them together. And when I put them together, I realized, like I said earlier, this is positive and negative energy. Something else happens. There's another spark, and that's the via creativa. And so all these paths are in Eckhart, absolutely, but not, of course, explicitly named. I did the naming. But like I had a professor, I did my doctorate in spirituality at the Institut Catholique de Paris. My professor Louis Cognier was very great historian of Christian spirituality. But he actually says in one of his books, Eckhart has only a via negativa. But I started reading Eckhart, and whoa! I mean, he says, isness is God. And he says, every creature is a work of God and a book about God. And he says, if I spent enough time with a caterpillar, I'd never have to prepare a sermon, because one caterpillar is so full of God. So, Cognier didn't get it. There's a via positiva there.
Okay.
And Eckhart gets it from Aquinas. You see, Eckhart came right after Aquinas, and he was also a Dominican, of course. And of course, you have it in Francis of Assisi, and you have it in Hildegard of Bingen. She's really the grandmother of the Rhineland mystic movement. She's the first to get ecstatic about the presence of God in nature and in science. She says all science comes from God. So this respect for those who study nature. So I got it from my Dominican tradition insofar as Aquinas says, a mistake about creation results in a mistake about God. That is so important, because what he's saying is he's raising up the nobility of the vocation of the scientist. So as we've learned, of course, that the size of the universe and the history of the universe, all this gives us insight. And of course, the role of black holes and dark energy and dark matter in the universe, all this sheds light on our understanding of divinity. And I see the apophatic divinity I think is really coming forward today. And why not? Because we're living in a universe that is 96% dark, dark matter, so or dark energy. So anyway, I got it from Eckhart, but I had to pull it out there. And then regarding justice, he's absolutely explicit. He says, the person who understands what I say about justice understands everything I have to say. Now that sentence is from the greatest mystic of the West. And it just shows the utter integration of the work of the prophets, including Jesus, to insist on justice. And this is the gift of the West to the East. The East has much to give the West, but Gandhi himself said, I learned to say no from the West, from Jesus and from the prophets. And so I believe the four paths truly integrate the big picture. And they're actually, I worked with them for so many years and with so many people. They're very archetypal. They're applicable to so many things, to literature, to music. You can take Mozart or Mahler or Beethoven or Wagner, and you can see the four paths there, and they help you to realize the spiritual depth of the music of the West. In many ways, I think music, art, and science are the yoga of the West. And we've so divorced spirituality from science, spirituality from art, religion from art in that sense, that we miss, I think, the integration of how much our ancestors have accomplished to instruct us how to live more fully and more deeply, which is what spirituality is about.
Why la via?
Oh, la via. Well, because traditionally there was this phrase via positiva, via negativa. So I bring them together and then I add via creativa. And why path? I don't like the word Christianity. I think it's we have to put it behind us. In the 12th century, the progressive movement of Christians put the word Christendom, Christianitas, behind them. We won't use it ever again. Aquinas, Dominic, Francis refused to use the word because it was so allied with the feudal structure and the politics and the religion that was dying. So today, the word Christianity is so allied with fundamentalist forces and the CIA and so much history that is dark, I think we have to leave it behind. So you go back to the beginning. And in the Bible, in the New Testament, Christianity is not a word at all. Path is. The way. The early Christians called themselves the way or the path.